I think for me, Rude is only going to be here for a little while.
Yep.
So, the next couple of games, it's going to be kind of like good vibes. It's just going to be good vibes. It's just going to be about, that kind of thing. And it's kind of, I don't want to get too excited about it because, we've seen this kind of thing before under different managers where, okay, they've played, and it was not a basic 4-4-2, but it was a 4-4-2 with the impetus to just always attack and create attacks. But it's like, for me, we've seen that kind of thing, that new manager bounce kind of thing before. It's when it gets serious is when Amorim comes in, and that's when the business end of the season really kicks in. Can he find a role for Casemiro? Can he find a role for Garnacho, like I was mentioning? What kind of version do we get of Garnacho? Bruno as well. Even Xerxes, you mentioned about, lots of players being in the central part of the pitch. Xerxes was doing that at Bologna, I think it was before, under Motta. He was coming from deep area, going deep into the midfield and defensive midfield, quick passes, 1-2 passes. He needs players around him. So even Xerxes, we could get the best out of him under Amorim. So it's about when he gets here, what does he do? Because that was a big issue with Ten Hag as well. He was playing players in weird positions. Mazraoui in the 10, he wasn't getting enough out of Ahmad. So we need Amorim really to be able to identify where these players are, their strengths, and always getting the right combination of players together. Amorim does seem like a good communicator. And I think, Ten Hag kind of lacked on that bit. I was hoping that, as the time went on, he would get better at that. I think, the likes of Pep and Klopp, as time has progressed on, the way that they conduct their interviews with the media and they speak to everyone has gotten better and improved. But Amorim seems like a really stern character as well. And just the way that his English sounds, it sounds really clear and concise. He can speak Portuguese as well. And then in terms of on the pitch though, the way his formation and the way that he's going to set up the team, I think especially in the defensive line, we've already got plenty of centre backs that can play in a back three and potentially can even get the best out of someone like Maguire. Lindelof, Euro. There's so many centre backs in our club that are able to be utilised now and are going to be needed because we're going to be playing 3 centre backs potentially. I think the back three as well. I watched his last game against Nacional. We won 3-1. It looks really interesting because the full-backs now are going to be the players that are going to be holding the width. When you think of a Manchester United team, you're thinking wingers flying down the wings. Nani, Giggs, Ronaldo. Januzaj was another quality winger as well. All these types of wingers, they kind of a bit less on the defensive side of the game, whereas the fullbacks pinning the opposition's defensive line as high away as possible is going to see a lot of creative midfielders coming into the game and intelligent midfielders. So just the way that we play football is going to be completely different to how I think Ten Hag was trying to make us play in terms of transitional football, and it's going to be a little bit similar-ish, I think, to someone that's going to be defensively sturdy with that the back three plus the 2 midfielders. So the way that we're going to play football is going to be really interesting. The open heart surgery has kind of been completed to the best possible way, I think. And then with this manager, you're getting an opportunity to utilise some of the players that we thought might not be good enough, under Ten Hag system, like a Maguire. And in a back three system, it will suit him. That's why I think he needs to start the back three system straight away. I know a lot of people, a lot of fans have been saying, maybe we don't have the players suitable for this manager, but I think we do. I really do. And because you'll still have your front three, it will just be inside forwards, or it could be 2 10s, or it could be 2 strikers. Garnacho can play as the little striker, and then you can have Xerxes or Højlund as your bigger forward. There's so many different ways that you can, have the 3 players together in terms of 2 10s, a striker, 2 strikers, a 10, a left forward, a right forward, and a main striker. There's so many different ways that you can do it. The interesting thing would be maybe how and where he puts Bruno. It's funny that Bruno kind of left the season before him, so they don't really have that much of a connection. I think Bruno leaves the season before, and then he goes on to win the league.
Amorim joined Sporting about 2 months after Bruno left.
So that's going to be quite interesting. So I know a lot of people say, that meant that he doesn't know how to use Bruno, or Bruno was the reason why Sporting had their degree of success. But it was this manager and the way that he's coached those players and implemented his style of football. So I think we need to see what the likes of maybe a Luke Shaw, his role, but there's Harry Amas there. He's got a lot of youth players. He's got a lot of youth players that we can utilise. So it's just about him getting the right combination of players together. I think it's so important for him to get the best out of this squad. I mean, like you said before, you know, we would be saying, rip it up, we need all these players to go. Now it's about the new managers coming in. Can they get the best out of what's there already? And then, you know, get a consistent style of play. And then we can all look at it and say, okay, well, who's the best in the world at what this specific role needs for this position? Can we go and get him and replace him with what we've got now? Get rid of Amorim. This is the wrong decision. They should have done, Ineos should have done it this way. Even though Ineos have done everything perfect, I think. How they've handled the situation, the process that they've gone, investing, all these kind of things have been really good. But then they'll be like, no, this was your contingency plan. Why didn't you just keep Rude on? Similar to maybe what happened with Ole. So I do understand. I do agree with that, and why Amorim would maybe want him to go. So.